Yes, the leftists propping up the Islamists will come to rue that day. Let's hear now from Zoran Mamdani, intern Arzub Malik, who is calling on Muslims to be gangster and jihad.
The true believer knows that none of this is in vain, that this is all jihad, that this is all ibadah, and that this is all counted for by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the conversation of doxing, the conversation of getting arrested and suspended, I think it's time for Muslims to start to say, all right, so what? Do what you want. I'm gonna do what I gotta do, because it's about time to do that. How gangsta are you? That's just my question. How much are you willing to do it? And I know everyone has their own risk levels, but at the end of the day, that's a question to ask ourselves. How committed am I to this? To what extent of my personal material gains am I willing to sacrifice for this bigger noble cause?
Let's go to another failing city, crime-riddled Chicago, which has been ruled by Democrats for decades and decades, and where the current mayor, Brandon Johnson, is triggered by factual terms like illegal immigrant.
We don't have illegal aliens. I don't know if that's from some sort of sci-fi message that you would have had. Well, listen, the legal term for my people were slaves. You want me to use that term too? So look, let's just get the language right. We're talking about undocumented individuals that are human beings. The last thing that I'm going to do is accept the type of racist, nasty language to describe human beings.
Now let's have a little Hollywood input. Actress Jenna Ortega was asked about who her heroes were and gave this rather incoherent virtue signalling response. Is she okay?
Who's your hero today?
My mom will always be a hero, but another hero of mine today, I don't know, I'm quite gravitated towards the people of Palestine and the way that they speak up and, the way that they're continuously using their voice no matter how much the world seems to ignore them. It's very important and it's very commendable, and I would like to lift and raise the voices as well.
Now to a rather generously proportioned woman who seems to think white people are lazy, dirty and violent. I can only hope this is a parody, a prank. Surely no one can be this boldly racist.
So just white people in general, I'm tired of you. I'm tired of your incompetence. I'm tired of your laziness.
Good morning.
I'm watching your on a regular basis, and then we have to be susceptible to that. I'm tired of you having babies. I'm tired of y'all raising and birthing and raising serial killers, pedophiles, mass shooters, and all this. And then you tell black people that we're violent. Everything about violence, we learned it from you. So you're the root cause of it.
Now, it would be uncharitable of me to list some crime statistics right
Morning.
now and some demographic breakdowns, but just imagine if the word black was substituted for white there in that crazy rant. Now, I didn't think me praising Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to be on the cards, but here we are. 2025 has been a wild year. Here is the Hollywood star and former California governor dropping a brutal fact check on CNN's Jake Tapper. Now, despite being a former Republican governor, Jake would have thought he was on safe ground with Arnie, given he is a full-blown TDS case. But no, Arnie surprised us all. Watch what he says when Tapper tries to blame Republicans' redistricting efforts and calls it cooking the books.
This all started because of redistricting in Texas, and this was Trump pushing Republican-controlled states to fill out their current congressional maps so as to cook the books, so that it is less likely for Democrats to retake control of the House during the next year midterms. I mean, is it fair to argue that do you believe that the Republican Party is starting this?
No, Jake. There's been gerrymandering going on for 200 years. There is such extreme gerrymandering going on that in a state like Massachusetts, it has like 40% of the people voting for Trump. They've zero representatives. The Republican Party has zero representatives sent to the House.
Good morning.
Think about that.
Good morning.
In New Mexico, if 45% of the people voted for Trump and voted Republican, and zero is sent to the House. You're a representative from the Republican Party.
You can just see Jake's little heart breaking into 1,000 pieces as Arnie betrays him.
Good morning.
Betrays him with the truth, with cold hard facts. Joining me now is Newsweek's senior editor-at-large and Article 3 Project Senior Counsel, Josh Hammer. Josh, tell me about the gerrymandering, the redistricting. It just seems crazy to me that you can have a state where 45% vote Republican and they don't get a single member in the House.
So, Rita, first of all, what year is it? I mean, is it the year 2005 where Arnold Schwarzenegger is back in the news? I mean, it's really quite funny. It's doubly funny for me, as the case may be. I actually just got back to my state of Florida. I actually was in Arnold Schwarzenegger's home country of Austria, of all places, for the past weeks. This is really kind of deja vu all over again. But look, he's right. He's right. All parties do it. There are actually many Democrat states that do it a lot worse than others. I actually know this firsthand, Rita, because going back to 2016, in the Republican presidential primary, I actually was a delegate on the ballot in Illinois' 7th congressional district. So I studied the state of Illinois' maps very well. These maps are like, to call them hooks and crooks, I think
good morning.
They are wiggling, they are wagging, they're zigging, they're zagging.
Like and subscribe. Thanks for joining in.
Like half a mile wide, then balloon out to 200 miles there, just trying to make sure that the party in control has as many seats as possible, as the former governor of California, Schwarzenegger, was saying. Now, this goes back, as he also correctly said, to the origins of the Republic. The name gerrymandering comes from the early American statesman Elbridge Gerry. He literally lived over 200 years ago. So this goes back a very, very long time. Long story short, everyone does it. Everyone does it. Everyone's done it for a very, very long time. So for Democrats to kind of try to play the moral high ground, we saw that in Texas a few months ago, earlier this summer, where Greg Abbott and the Texas legislature were trying to redraw their maps there. They were saying, oh my God, it's a threat to democracy. As if you guys don't do it. As if Democrats don't do the exact same darn thing. Now, legally speaking, Rita, there are real limits on the ability of the courts to police this behavior. It's typically viewed as an inherently political question best left to the courts. There are limits on racial gerrymandering in particular. There's actually a very interesting Supreme Court case. They just heard oral argument in that case about a week ago. It's very hot off the press.
Good morning.
Fascinating ruling on that. But traditionally, the courts have been pretty hands off on this. It's a fundamentally political question. They are the red states versus the blue states.
Well, who does it better? Because the allegation is that the Democrats have mastered this. They've been doing this in a rampant fashion across the country. Are the Republicans playing catch up here?
I think they are. The good news, Rita, is that some of the leading red states in the country, including my state of Florida, are doing a pretty darn good job of playing catch up. So Florida has added numerous Republican congressional seats just during Ron DeSantis' gubernatorial tenure. State of Texas under Greg Abbott is doing very much the same thing. But if you look at the leading blue states, California, Illinois, New Jersey, states like that, a lot of them are frankly just comically gerrymandered. You look at the map and you just want to laugh out loud at like how these actual congressional maps look. Now, this is relevant for U.S. House representation. It's relevant for the decennial once every 10-year census when it comes to how much funding states can get for the feds for various programs. So it has real ramifications there. Democrats mastered this art a very long time ago. Republicans are indeed playing catch-up, as they all too often are, I might say. The good news, Rita, is that at least in the leading red states like Florida, Tennessee, Texas, those states are indeed catching up.
Now, Josh, tell me about the absolute mass meltdown we've had over Donald Trump gifting the American people a ballroom, a beautiful ballroom, we would say. This addition to the White House will have zero taxpayer dollars spent on it, with Trump and other donors paying for the enormous construction cost. You'd think this wouldn't be grounds for a massive meltdown, Josh, but it's everywhere, even on our 9 papers in Australia today. The Sydney Morning Herald and The Age are carrying pieces about this as if it's some horrible misdeed by Trump. It is one of the more bizarre controversies, I've got to say, of the second term.
Rita, you and I are both in the news business, and every so often a story comes up, and I just ask myself, why is this a thing? Like literally, why are people talking about it? I mean, here in the United States, we have some pretty big issues. This is actually one of the longest government shutdowns already in United States history, thanks to Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. We have Donald Trump, who's currently in Southeast Asia on a very, very important foreign policy trip when it comes to everything from peace between Thailand and Cambodia to trade with communist China. We have this whole brewing controversy when it comes to this president's admirable willingness and ability to take out drug cartel smugglers down in the Caribbean all the way down to Venezuela. There's a lot going on in our own hemisphere, but I mean, the notion that this would be a story, that Donald Trump remodeling and granting the White House a new ballroom. I mean, don't you guys have anything better to talk about? I mean, like, literally, don't you have something better to get your panties all up in a wad about? I mean, it really makes you think sometimes, Rita, that, I mean, Donald Trump could eat a piece of stale cheese and he could issue a particularly loud bit of flatulence in the wrong direction, and the people would say that it is the imminent incoming jackboots of the Third Reich. I mean, what is wrong with you at a certain level that like this is what you're choosing to live and die in? But facetiousness aside, just to be serious for a second here, the White House is, among other things, the president's home, and presidents going back since time immemorial, since George Washington. Well, he didn't do the White House, but starting since the White House was actually inhabited by the presidents there,
Sorry about
they
that.
remodeled it to some extent to their liking. Because again, it is a home. It is not a big deal at all. The left surely has better things to care about. I would like to think.
And you would think that the White House should have a ballroom, given the functions they host and the world leaders, the dignitaries who come through daily almost. It's obviously something that would be beneficial to the whole setup. And, people joke that if Donald Trump cured cancer, people would abuse him for putting doctors out of work. And this is almost akin to that, because here, with our taxpayer funds, a beautiful ballroom is going to be built. It's owned by the American people. It's not owned by Donald Trump. And yet they're finding ways to have an absolute hissy fit over it. Crazy stuff. Now, Donald Trump is setting a blistering pace in Asia for the summit of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Within 6 hours of landing in Kuala Lumpur, the president announced trade deals with 4 countries, met regional leaders and held talks with the Brazilian president, and he's presided over signing of a peace deal between Cambodia and Thailand. Josh, there's a lot happening there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a blitzkrieg, isn't it? So, first of all, I mean, he deserves tremendous credit for getting this peace deal between Thailand and Cambodia. Frankly, Rita, there have been so many peace deals that he has negotiated over the first less than a year of presidency. It's genuinely hard to keep track there. But Thailand, Cambodia was definitely one of those that kind of snuck in under the radar. So good for him for getting there, being there in person to preside over this. The big question I think a lot of Americans are paying very close attention to, at least from my vantage point, is when Donald Trump actually goes to meet with Xi Jinping. That's going to happen imminently. They're going to have a full-blown discussion over issues of trade between the United States and China. This is one of the great questions of our time, I think, from an American perspective there. Is some sort of healthier trade relationship between the United States and our arch geopolitical foe, the communist Chinese? Is there something that is a healthier relationship that can possibly flow from this? I genuinely am not sure what the answer is. I definitely know that I have been deeply skeptical of the way that bipartisan elites have sold the American people down the river when it comes to offshoring in China, when it comes to just stripping out the industrial base of the American homeland and embedding the Chinese Communist Party's intellectual property thefts, their currency manipulation, all these horrible things there. So what will Donald Trump actually be able to do? China's been tough. I mean, Xi Jinping is doing a very hard sell right now. He has the sword of Damocles of possibly invading Taiwan, which would be a total disaster, certainly, for the Indo-Pacific. So that's really fascinating. I think that's very much what I think many others are paying very close attention to this week.
Well, he not only arrived in Kuala Lumpur with a dance-off, introduced some new moves to his repertoire, but he was also introduced with the Rocky theme. Have a look at this. What will China make of the reception the president is receiving from Asian countries during this summit?
Well, you would like to think that they would be somewhat cowed. You would like to think that they would be somewhat sobered up by the fact that Donald Trump is being welcomed as a hero in Southeast Asia, not particularly far from China. But Xi Jinping, Rita, is a fundamentally revolutionary figure. Xi Jinping, when you look at what he's doing to the Communist Party, when you look at the purges of his top-ranking military brass that he has done just over the past 2-3 years, I mean, he is now purging more military generals than I think even Mao Zedong himself reached over a similar time span. He is really consolidating power there. He is not a fan of the United States. He is not a fan of Donald Trump. So I would like to think that they will be sobered up a little bit by this grand welcome that Donald Trump got in Malaysia with the Thailand and Cambodia deal, places like that there. Unfortunately, I'm not entirely sure that I expect that. It's going to be a very tough trade. It's going to be a very, very tough negotiation between the United States and China there. Ultimately, though, Rita, and here's the key point, the United States has more leverage. The United States fundamentally has more leverage with China. We are the stronger country. We are the stronger economy. The Chinese economy has all sorts of fundamental flaws when it comes to the real estate market, when it comes to the ruinous ramifications of their one-child policy finally coming to roost when it comes to declining demographics. They have all sorts of structural flaws. As long as Donald Trump kind of keeps his head level here and kind of tries to reprise the art of the deal, I'm pretty cautiously optimistic about what this could result from.
Now let's go to New York. The mayoral race
Morning.
is heating up with Zoran Mamdani, the likely next mayor. Isn't he going to be giving us rich content for many years to come if that happens? But Josh, a different story, very different story in New Jersey. The governor race there is fascinating, and you're looking at the numbers. Could New Jersey become a red state, Josh?
Oh, it's entirely possible. First of all, New Jersey
What you
has
guys
had
think?
Republican statewide officials in the not so distant past. I mean, let's recall that Chris Christie was a two-term, and at least at one point, he was a fairly popular governor. I mean, before the whole Bridgegate scandal and all that. But at one point, he was actually a pretty popular governor there in New Jersey. But New Jersey, Rita, it's a fascinating state because there's no single massive city in New Jersey. It is a very suburban state. So I think as a lot of these Philadelphia suburbs, these New York City suburbs have started to sour on the Democratic Party because, frankly, they value quality of life issues such as a secure border, such as tamping down on crime, such as increasing real inflation-adjusted wages there. They have soured at this current woke iteration of the Jasmine Crockett AOC Democratic Party. So New Jersey's been trending red for a few years now. They almost actually voted for the Republicans back in 2021. I would not be the least surprised if they can actually pull it off in just a week or so here in New Jersey. I'm not going to confidently predict it, Rita, but I think it's actually going to be really, really close. New Jersey easily could be the next state to genuinely flip red. I think Kamala Harris only won it by about 5 points, give or take. It was a genuinely pretty close race last November.
So interesting, given its proximity to Manhattan. You could have such wildly different politics so close to each other. Before you go, I want to ask you about this Harvard University resident dean who's attacked police, white people, conservatives, even defended threats against President Donald Trump. And this was before he was appointed, not that long ago. This is a report by Fox News. In 2020 social media posts, Gregory Davis wrote, "You should ask your cop friends to resign since they're racist and evil." He also posted, "Something to keep in mind, rioting and looting are parts of democracy, just like voting and marching. The people will be heard." There you go. Rioting and looting is just like voting and marching. Josh, when is Harvard going to learn? And these posts are from 2020. It isn't exactly a long time ago.
Sadly, Rita, this is hardly the only instance of recent Harvard professors going wild. There was actually an insane story that happened at one of the Jewish holidays. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Rosh Hashanah, but it might be Yom Kippur. It doesn't matter. But there was a visiting Harvard Law School professor who went to a synagogue just outside Boston, a very heavily Jewish area. It was either Brookline or Newton, Massachusetts, and fired like a pellet gun or a Nerf gun in a symbolic act of protest at the synagogue for what exactly? I mean, for being like Zionists or occupiers, all these various left-wing buzzwords. And to my knowledge, that professor was actually not yet been disciplined. So Harvard is actually dealing with just utter insanity on multiple fronts. Now, Harvard has been really kind of taken to the woodshed, frankly, from Donald Trump. The Trump administration has done a really good job of trying to exact concessions from Harvard. Harvard had this 300 to 400 page memo where they basically admitted where they've erred in recent years there, and they pledged to do different going forward. I guess the question is, are you actually going to do different going forward? Because thus far, in the 2-3 months or so since that memo was released there, I mean, we've had numerous troubling data points there. Ultimately, I entrust that the DOJ Civil Rights Division, under the excellent leadership of Harmeet Dillon, they're going to continue to, I think, to hold Harvard's feet to the fire, and let's see what happens, I guess.
Josh Schamer, thank you so much for your time. Now to President Trump, who has set a sizzling pace in Asia. Within hours of touching down, he had signed 4 trade deals, met regional leaders, met the Brazilian president, and presided over a historic peace deal between Thailand and Cambodia. But before all that, he unveiled some new dance moves. It's superb. I'm loving the group. Gab, dance with me. Don't leave me hanging.
Rita, if I have to, I've got to do it together. This is the first time I've done the Trump dance on air. I've been holding off for some time, but on your show, I bust out the moves.
I love it. Gabriella Power, fantastic to have you, host of Power Hour on Sky News Australia's digital platforms. The president is getting it done in Asia. The US and China have also agreed to a framework for a trade deal, with Donald Trump expected to meet with Chinese President Xi Jinping this Thursday.
Yeah, that's right, Rita. And just on Donald Trump's dance moves, isn't it refreshing to have a president that is full of life, that is energetic, that's high energy, who is entertaining on the world stage, especially after the past several years of Joe Biden, who was just embarrassing on the world stage, falling up and down the stairs. But Donald Trump, busting out iconic moves. But as you say, he's getting it done. He's expected to meet with China's president later in the week, and the US and China have agreed to a framework trade deal at this stage, which means it's likely that China will be able to avoid the 100% tariff. So that is the art of the deal playing out. We will, of course, watch this space very closely. But as you say, Donald Trump, he's been non-stop. He's been signing off on that historic peace agreement between Cambodia and Thailand. He's been signing trade deals with Cambodia, Thailand, and Malaysia. And this is just at the very beginning of his tour.
And no one can keep up with him. I was listening to an interview with Caitlin Collins from CNN, no fan of Donald Trump, it must be said, but she was saying that on these overseas assignments, no one can sleep because he doesn't sleep. He just keeps going.
Yeah, the reporter.
Thanks for the light. Thank you.
Around the clock. They're struggling to keep up with him. Now, you would remember Justin Trudeau, the former Canadian Prime Minister, the male himbo, I used to call him. He's now known as Katy Perry's boyfriend, and here they are on a date in Paris to celebrate Katy's 45th birthday. Gab, we wish them but well, I guess. Have you got anything to add to this little union?
Look, we do wish them well, of course, but they are two highly unpopular people. I mean, looking at the reaction to this, many people are still calling Katy Perry an astronaut after the 10 minutes that she spent up in space. And Justin Trudeau, I mean, people are still calling him the 51st governor of the United States, and they're ridiculing him for his stance on climate change. But Katy Perry, Justin Trudeau, they were captured or photographed, I should say, back in July at a restaurant. Then earlier this month, they were captured together, pretty loved up on Katy Perry's yacht. And then this was their first really public outing, making it official, smiling for the cameras, hand in hand. For Katy Perry's birthday, they went to a cabaret show in Paris.
Yes, it's a curious choice for a 45th birthday, but, plenty of others have made similar choices. Let's move along to Harry and Meghan. They've lost yet another publicist. Former Netflix Senior Director of Publicity Emily Robinson has quit her communications role with the Sussexes just 4 months into the job. This follows several communication staffers who have also exited the Sussexes team in recent years. Gab, why can't this couple hold on to staff?
I mean, it's extraordinary. It's a revolving door when it comes to Harry and Meghan. If you look at any kind of successful organisation, any successful business, one of the key parts or something that really reflects strong leadership is if you can retain quality staff. Harry and Meghan have not been able to do that. I mean, the fact that this is the 10th publicist to go in the space of 5 years, that is extraordinary. And if you look at this communications director, Emily Robinson's career history, she's quit after 3 months. Now, previously, she's worked at NBC Universal for nearly 3 years. She's worked at other channels for several years, Netflix for reports of up to 8 years. So she's someone that clearly doesn't quit very easily. You know, she's proven to be loyal to previous companies. So sources have told outlets such as the Daily Mail she's not a quitter and things must have been horrible for her to quit. So you think about the fact that she is now the 10th person to quit in the space of 5 years. What are Harry and Meghan doing? Or, you know, what is happening there that's actually clearly driving staff away? There are, of course, those reports that Meghan had bullying allegations against her while she was in the UK. And so Meghan Markle, who's someone who was so desperate for some good PR, this is just another PR disaster for her.
It is. Well, there was a probe into whether Meghan was a bully or not. The results, from what I understand, were never released. This was a palace investigation, but one day we'll
Good morning.
never bury this sort of stuff forever, so we'll find out what really happened behind closed doors. Now, readers of the Australian newspaper have voted on the top 25 shows, TV shows of the past 25 years. And topping the list was Ted Lasso. I've got to say, I've never seen an episode, so I will plead ignorance there. Followed by Ozark, which is good value. You could argue it jumped the shark sort of deep into its last season. Mr. In Between and Schitt's Creek. Now, Gab, I've got to say, it is a surprising top 4 where the readers perhaps drunk when they voted in this poll. I'm just asking the questions.
Perhaps. I saw Ted Lasso. I didn't mind it, but Rita, that you missed one. There was also Yellowstone, and surely you like Yellowstone, and also Afterlife. I mean, Ricky Gervais, that's something that I would absolutely vote for. He's a brilliant comedian, and so I'm not mad about that making the list.
I've got to confess, I will watch Yellowstone, but it's one of the ones that's on my binge list that I haven't got to. But I did watch Landman. I binged that one, and that is brilliant. I don't know if you've seen that one, Gabby. That is
list.
With Billy Bob Thornton.
Okay.
Billy Bob Thornton, Demi Moore. I guess they're the big stars in it, but it is a brilliantly written drama, and I think it's got season 2 coming up very shortly. Now, the Golden Globes has introduced a new category for podcasts, and it's already been ripped to shreds by fuming media insiders as it's an out-of-control category and a money grab. What's going on there, Gab?
Yeah, let's talk about the Golden Globes controversy, because there's a bit of controversy around how these awards are going to be decided. So essentially the Golden Globes announced that there are 25 nominees for this new Best Podcast category, but it's already being slammed as a racket because people are wondering how these top 25 podcasts are exactly going to be chosen. So the list of the top 25 podcasts will be determined by Luminate. Luminate is owned by Penske, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Penske has owned the Golden Globes since 2023, but there's more controversy saying that this is essentially a cash grab because potential podcast nominees must reportedly pay the Globes $500 just to be considered. So, look, it's being slammed. There's also a bit of controversy around some of the podcasters aren't fans of the Golden Globes themselves and certainly have a bit of a war on Hollywood, so we'll see how this one plays out, Rita.
I mean, if it was a genuine category, you would have a Conservative likely win it. And can you imagine if you had someone like a Megyn Kelly giving a speech at the Golden Globes? I mean, my God, Ricky Gervais would have nothing on her. She would rip them to shreds. Or if you had, I don't know, there's so many other great podcasters who would be in contention if it was a genuine category, but I've got a feeling it's not. Now, before you go, sorry, guys.
So you look at the podcasters, and the Conservatives are just absolutely dominating that space. When you've got Megyn Kelly, you've got Tucker Carlson, you've got Joe Rogan. It's where Donald Trump spent 3 hours of his time, with Joe Rogan, with Theo Von, with some really big podcasters, and it potentially helped him get elected. It's where people are listening. People are certainly listening to conservative voices on there, but not sure about the Golden Globes category, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Now, before you go, we have to have some Kardashian input into this segment. Kim Kardashian has defended her 12-year-old daughter Northwest's fake face tattoos and piercings, and she's also got the blue hair at the moment after the child posted videos featuring this bold new look on TikTok. Gab, Kanye has, I think, posted about this as well. He's not happy, but then his own output on social media is hardly an example for North to follow.
No, Kanye's example on social media is absolutely appalling. But as you say, Kim Kardashian has come to her daughter's defense here because outlets have shared that TikTok and written articles saying that really fans are concerned when she was seen on TikTok with the blue hair, the piercings, the tattoos. Some people find that a little bit shocking, but Kim Kardashian has slammed Daily Mail saying this is such a non-issue, and plenty of fans have backed Kim Kardashian saying, look, she's just going through a teenage phase and give her a bit of space.
Well, she may be going through a teenage phase, but she's not a teenager yet. But yeah, maybe she's an early bloomer out Northwest. Gabriella Power, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Rita.
Governor dropping a brutal fact check on CNN's Jake Tapper. Now, despite being a former Republican governor, Jake would have thought he was on safe ground with Arnie, given he is a full-blown TDS case. But no, Arnie surprised us all.
Good morning.
Watch what he says when Tapper
Happy
tries
Monday.
to blame Republicans' redistricting efforts and calls it cooking the books.
This all started because of redistricting in Texas, and this was Trump pushing Republican-controlled states to throw out their current congressional maps so as to cook the books, so that it is less likely for Democrats to retake control of the House during the next year midterms. I mean, is it fair to argue that do you believe that the Republican Party is starting this?
No, Jake. There's been gerrymandering going on for 200 years. There is such extreme gerrymandering going on that in a state like Massachusetts, that has like 40% of the people voting for Trump. They have zero representatives. The Republican Party has zero representatives sent to the House. Think about that. In New Mexico, if 45% of the people voted for Trump and voted Republican, and zero is sent to the House, zero representatives from the Republican Party.
You can just see Jake's little heart breaking into 1,000 pieces as Arnie betrays him with the truth, with cold hard
Morning.
Joining me now
Happy
is
Monday. Thanks for joining in. Appreciate it.
Article 3 Project Senior Counsel Josh Hammer. Josh, tell me about the gerrymandering, the redistricting. It just seems crazy to me that you can have a state where 45% vote Republican and they don't get a single member in the House.
So, Rita, first of all, what year is it? I mean, is it the year 2005 where Arnold Schwarzenegger is back in the news? I mean, it's really quite funny. It's doubly funny for me as the case may be. I actually just got back to my state of Florida. I actually was in Arnold Schwarzenegger's home country of Austria, of all places, for the past week. So this is really kind of deja vu all over again. But look, he's right. He's right. All parties do it. There are actually many Democrat states that do it a lot worse than others. I actually know this firsthand, Rita, because going back in 2016, in the Republican presidential primary, I actually was a delegate on the ballot in Illinois' 7th congressional district. So I studied the state of Illinois' maps very well. These maps are to call them hooks and crooks, I think would be an understatement. They are wiggling, they are wagging, they're zigging, they're zagging. It's total nonsense there. They go down to half a mile wide, then balloon out to 200 miles there, just trying to make sure that the party in control has as many seats as possible, as the former governor of California, Schwarzenegger, was saying. Now, this goes back, as he also correctly said, to the origins of the Republic. The name gerrymandering comes from the early American statesman Elbridge Gerry. literally lived over 200 years ago. So this goes back a very, very long time. Long story short, everyone does it. Everyone does it, and everyone's done it for a very, very long time. So for Democrats to kind of try to play the moral high ground, we saw that in Texas a few months ago, earlier this summer, where Greg Abbott and the Texas legislature were trying to redraw their maps there. They were saying, oh my God, it's a threat to democracy. As if you guys don't do it. As if Democrats don't do the exact same darn thing. Now, legally speaking, Rita, there are real limits on the ability of the courts to police this behavior. It's typically viewed as an inherently political question best left to the courts. There are limits on racial gerrymandering in particular. There's actually a very interesting Supreme Court case. They just heard oral argument in that case about a week ago. It's very hot off the press. Could get a very fascinating ruling on that. But traditionally, the courts have been pretty hands-off on this. It's a fundamentally political question there, the red states versus the blue states.
Well, who does it better? Because the allegation is that the Democrats have mastered this. They've been doing this in a rampant fashion across the country. Are the Republicans playing catch-up here?
I think they are. The good news, Rita, is that some of the leading red states in the country, including my state of Florida, are doing a pretty darn good job of playing catch-up. So Florida has added numerous Republican congressional seats just during Ron DeSantis' gubernatorial tenure. Same Texas under Greg Abbott is doing very much the same thing. But if you look at the leading blue states, California, Illinois, New Jersey, states like that, a lot of them are frankly just comically gerrymandered. I mean, you look at the map and you just want to laugh out loud at like how these actual congressional maps look. Now, this is relevant for U.S. House representation. It's relevant for the decennial once every 10-year census when it comes to how much funding states can get for the feds for various programs. So it has real ramifications there. Democrats mastered this art a very long time ago. Republicans are indeed playing catch-up, as they all too often are, I might say. The good news, Rita, is that at least in the leading red states like Florida, Tennessee, Texas, those states are indeed catching up.
Now, Josh, tell me about the absolute mass meltdown we've had over Donald Trump gifting the American
Wow, good morning. Like and subscribe. Thank you.
Would say this addition to the White House will have zero taxpayer dollars spent on it, with Trump and other donors paying for the enormous construction costs. You'd think this wouldn't be grounds for a massive meltdown, Josh, but it's everywhere, even on our 9 papers in Australia today. The Sydney Morning Herald and The Age are carrying pieces about this as if it's some horrible misdeed by Trump. It is one of the more bizarre controversies, I've got to say, of this second term.
Rita, you and I are both in the news business, and every so often a story comes up, and I just ask myself, why is this a thing? Like literally, why are people talking about it? I mean, here in the United States, we have some pretty big issues. This is actually one of the longest government shutdowns already in United States history, thanks to Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries. We have Donald Trump, who's currently in Southeast Asia on a very, very important foreign policy trip when it comes to everything from peace between Thailand and Cambodia to trade with communist China. We have this whole brewing controversy when it comes to this president's admirable willingness and ability to take out drug cartel smugglers down in the Caribbean all the way down to Venezuela. There's a lot going on in our own hemisphere, but I mean, the notion that this would be a story, that Donald Trump remodeling and granting the White House a new ballroom. I mean, don't you guys have anything better to talk about? I mean, like, literally, don't you have something better to get your panties all up in a wad about? I mean, it really makes you think sometimes, Rita, that, I mean, Donald Trump could eat a piece of stale cheese and he could issue a particularly loud bit of flatulence in the wrong direction, and the people would say that it is the imminent incoming jackboots of the Third Reich. I mean, what is wrong with you at a certain level that like this is what you're choosing to live and die in? But facetiousness aside, just to be serious for a second here, the White House is, among other things, the president's home, and presidents going back since time immemorial to George Washington. Well, he actually the White House, but starting since the White House was actually inhabited by the presidents there, they all remodeled it to some extent to their liking, because again, it is a home. It is not a big deal at all. The left surely has better things to care about, I would like to think.
And you would think that the White House should have a ballroom, given the functions they host and the world leaders, the dignitaries who come through daily almost. It's obviously something that would be beneficial to the whole setup. And, people joke that if Donald Trump cured cancer, people would abuse him for putting doctors out of work. And this is almost akin to that, because here without taxpayer funds, a beautiful ballroom is going to be built. It's owned by the American people. It's not owned by Donald Trump. And yet they're finding ways to have an absolute hissy fit over it. Crazy stuff. Now, Donald Trump is setting a blistering pace in Asia for the summit of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Within 6 hours of landing in Kuala Lumpur, the president announced trade deals with 4 countries, met regional leaders and held talks with the Brazilian president, and he's presided over signing of a peace deal between Cambodia and Thailand. Josh, there's a lot happening there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a blitzkrieg, isn't it? So first of all, I mean, he deserves tremendous credit for getting this peace deal between Thailand and Cambodia. Frankly, Rita, there have been so many peace deals that he has negotiated over the first less than a year of presidency. It's genuinely hard to keep track there. But Thailand, Cambodia was definitely one of those that kind of snuck in under the radar. So good for him for getting there, being there in person to preside over this. The big question I think a lot of Americans are paying very close attention to, at least from my vantage point, is when Donald Trump actually goes to meet with Xi Jinping. That's going to happen imminently. They're going to have a full-blown discussion over issues of trade between the United States and China. This is one of the great questions of our time, I think, from an American perspective. There is some sort of healthier trade relationship between the United States and our arch geopolitical foe, the communist Chinese. Is there something that is a healthier relationship that can possibly flow from this? I genuinely am not sure what the answer is. I definitely know that I have been deeply skeptical of the way that bipartisan elites have sold the American people down the river when it comes to offshoring in China, when it comes to just stripping out the industrial base of the American homeland and embedding the Chinese Communist Party's intellectual property thefts, their currency manipulation, all these horrible things there. So
Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday.
China's been tough. I mean, Xi Jinping is doing a very hard sell right now. He has the sort of Damocles of possibly invading Taiwan, which would be a total disaster, certainly, for the Indo-Pacific. So that's really fascinating. I think that's very much what I think many others are paying very close attention to this.
Well, he not only arrived in Kuala Lumpur with a dance-off, introduced some new moves to his repertoire, but he was also introduced with the Rocky theme. Have a look at this. What will China make of the reception the president is receiving from Asian countries during this summit?
Well, you would like to think that they would be somewhat cowed. You would like to think that they would be somewhat sobered up by the fact that Donald Trump is being welcomed as a hero in Southeast Asia, not particularly far from China. But Xi Jinping, Rita, is a fundamentally revolutionary figure. Xi Jinping, when you look at what he's doing to the Communist Party, when you look at the purges of his top-ranking military brass that he has done just over the past 2-3 years, I mean, he is now purging more military generals than I think even Mao Zedong himself reached over a similar time. So I think he's really consolidating power there. He is not a fan of the United States. He is not a fan of Donald Trump. So I would like to think that they will be sobered up a little bit by this grand welcome that Donald Trump got in Malaysia with the Thailand Cambodia deal, places like that there. Unfortunately, I'm not entirely sure that I expect that. It's going to be a very tough trade. It's going to be a very, very tough negotiation between the United States and China there. Ultimately, though, Rita, and here's the key point, the United States has more leverage. The United States fundamentally has more leverage with China. We are the stronger country. We are the stronger economy. The Chinese economy has all sorts of fundamental flaws when it comes to the real estate market, when it comes to the ruinous ramifications of their one-child policy finally coming to roost when it comes to declining demographics. They have all sorts of structural flaws. As long as Donald Trump kind of keeps his head level here and kind of tries to reprise the art of the deal, I'm pretty cautiously optimistic about what this could result from.
Now let's go to New York. The mayoral race there is heating up with Zoran Mandani, the likely next mayor. Isn't he going to be giving us rich content for many years to come if that happens? But Josh, a different story, very different story in New Jersey. The governor race there is fascinating, and you're looking at the numbers. Could New Jersey become a red state, Josh?
Oh, it's entirely possible. First of all, New Jersey has had Republican statewide officials in the not-so-distant past. I mean, let's recall that Chris Christie was a two-term, and at least at one point, he was a fairly popular governor. I mean, before the whole Bridgegate scandal and all that, but at one point, he was actually a pretty popular governor there in New Jersey. But New Jersey, Rita, it's a fascinating state because there's no single massive city in New Jersey. It is a very suburban state. So I think a lot of these Philadelphia suburbs, these New York City suburbs, have started to sour on the Democratic Party because, frankly, they value quality of life issues such as a secure border, such as tamping down on crimes, just increasing real inflation-adjusted wages there. They have soured at this current woke iteration of the Jasmine Crockett AOC Democratic Party. So New Jersey's been trending red for a few years now. They almost actually voted for the Republicans back in 2021. I would not be the least surprised if they can actually pull it off in just a week or so here in New Jersey. I'm not gonna confidently predict a Rita, but I think it's actually going to be really, really close. New Jersey easily could be the next state to genuinely flip red. I think Kamala Harris only won it by about 5 points, give or take. It was a genuinely pretty close race last November.
So interesting, given its proximity to Manhattan. You could have such wildly different politics so close to each other. Before we go, I want to ask you about this Harvard University resident dean who's attacked police, white people, conservatives, even defended threats against President Donald Trump. And this was before he was appointed, not that long ago. This is a report by Fox News. In 2020 social media posts, Gregory Davis wrote, "You should ask your cop friends to resign since they're racist and evil." He also posted, "Something to keep in mind, rioting and looting are parts of democracy, just like voting and marching. The people will be heard." There you go. Rioting and looting is just like voting and marching. Josh, when is Harvard going to learn? And these posts are from 2020. It isn't exactly a long time ago.
Sadly, Rita, this is hardly the only instance of recent Harvard professors going wild. There was actually
Good morning.
Same story that happened
Happy Monday.
One of the Jewish holidays. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Rosh Hashanah, but it might have been Yom Kippur. It doesn't matter. But there was a visiting Harvard Law School professor went to a synagogue just outside Boston, a very heavily Jewish area. It was either Brookline or Newton, Massachusetts, and fired like a pellet gun or a Nerf gun in a symbolic act of protest at the synagogue for what exactly? I mean, for being like Zionists or occupiers, all these various left-wing buzzwords. And to my knowledge, that professor was actually not yet been disciplined. So Harvard is actually dealing with just utter insanity on multiple fronts. Now, Harvard has been really kind of taken to the woodshed, frankly, from Donald Trump. The Trump administration has done a really good job of trying to exact concessions from Harvard. Harvard had this 300 to 400 page memo where they basically admitted where they've erred in recent years there, and they pledged to do different going forward. I guess the question is, are you actually going to do different going forward? Because thus far, in the 2-3 months or so since that memo was released there, I mean, we've had numerous troubling data points there. Ultimately, I entrust that the DOJ Civil Rights Division, under the excellent leadership of Harmeet Dillon, they're going to continue to, I think, to hold Harvard's feet to the fire. Let's see what happens, I guess.
Josh Shammer, thank you so much for your time.
This is Power Hour with Gabrielle.
Law, like it's not allowed. You cannot make the decision to simply say we are not going to allow for the arrests. In fact, we're going to take it one further because Nancy Pelosi is suggesting, as is many members of the Democrat Party, they're suggesting now that they can arrest ICE agents for doing their job. I mean, what planet are these people on? Did they never take a civics class, for goodness sakes? Apparently not. Here's Pam Bondi making it very clear what's going to happen to Nancy Pelosi and any other Dem that tries to do this stuff.
You cannot disclose the identity of a federal agent, where they live, anything that could harm them. Pritzker, same ballgame with him. And, Pelosi got a letter today from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. So did Brooke Jenkins, that DA in San Francisco. We told them, preserve your emails, preserve everything you have on this topic, because if
Thanks for the like. Good morning.
People to arrest our ICE officers, our federal agents, you cannot do that. You're impeding an investigation, and we will charge them. If they think I want, they have not met me, because we will charge them if they are violating the law.
Like
we
and
will
subscribe.
protect our
Thank you.
federal agents. They're out there working nonstop. You're showing right now during a shutdown, these people are out there working to keep Californians safe. Yet you've got Pelosi out there saying to obstruct their investigation. You can't do it. And we're going to investigate her now as well as that DA.
Okay, no, you can't. I mean, like, this is just basic stuff, okay? It should not be that hard, you guys. I'm sort of struck by the utter lack of knowledge when it comes to understanding how the government works, okay? So there's the supremacy clause, there's the commerce clause, you name it. There's the immigration clause. I mean, when it comes to who's in this country, the federal government has all the power. And guess what? Congress is the one that made the law saying you can't just come in, right? We actually have to have borders. And so it is now the federal government's job, the immigration and customs enforcement officers' jobs, right? The ICE agency, DHS, they have to then enforce the federal law, which Congress has put in place. So how does this make any sense that now Nancy Pelosi is going to say, okay, we're going to arrest ICE agents, or you get Pritzker out there saying similar stuff? I mean, these people are bonkers, okay? Just bonkers. And so fine, it's going to have to go to the Supreme Court. Do they think it's going to slow it down? You're going to arrest ICE agents for doing their job? Come on. I mean, you get Letitia James, who, by the way, was in court today. You know, this is good. She just came out yesterday with some wild, wacky stuff, trying to say she wanted everybody to be submitting all of the video they could and the information on ICE agents. She's running around because she's trying to find out or come up with reasons to arrest them. I mean, this is surreal, as Tom Homan points out, but he's already talking to Pam, and he's like, listen, this is impeachment, and they're going down.
They're all over this. They're all over this. Now they're looking at, impeachment charges, looking at who's funding this stuff, right? I'm telling you, it's a matter of time. And I hate saying this, but I'm going to say it because I truly believe it's a matter of time before an ICE agent's ambushed and killed. Because we're letting people know where enforcement activities are occurring. And they're looking for the worst of the worst. The last thing we want to do is give a bad guy, the worst of the worst, a heads up that ICE is down the street. And I go to bed every night, and I pray for every man and woman that ICE and Border Patrol go home safe to their families. I buried too many ICE agents in my career and Border Patrol agents.
Thanks for watching. Good morning. Thanks for watching.
So Pam Bonnie's all over us. I know DOJ's all over this. We'll hold people accountable. This cannot happen. It's disgusting. I can't believe what's going on in this nation today. I wake up every morning in disbelief that people want to call the law enforcement officers the bad guys and the criminal public safety threats the victims. It's ridiculous. It's all upside down. But we're going to keep doing this job and keep President Trump's promise to American people.
Thank you, Tom Homan. But here's the thing.
Thank you.
I know he's waking up in disbelief every day, and I'm sitting here kind of shell-shocked as well. But the reality is, you know what? Not everybody's like that. Half the country fully approves of what's going on. And when you look at all the poll numbers now, I mean, people are shocked by this. He's hanging on. Donald Trump is hanging on. Why? Because people see him as strong on the border. They see him as strong on the economy, too. Just look at gas prices. We'll talk about that. Way down, under $3 a barrel nationwide. I know not in California, but, you can blame Gavin Newsom. And all those taxes that he puts on for that. But the reality here is, look, ICE has a job to do. ICE is out there doing the job. And when people like Nancy Pelosi and others, Pritzker, whoever, are trying to get in the way of that, you're now creating a situation that some worry really could develop into some kind of civil war. I don't actually worry about that because I know that the Supreme Court is going to say, sorry, tough luck. I mean, look what happened in Portland, Oregon. You had the appeals court out there, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals saying, hey, yeah, you want the National Guard in Oregon? You can put the National Guard in Oregon. And so he won that round. It will likely go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is going to say, yes, the federal government has the power to do that. Otherwise, you're in a situation where you could have 1963 Alabama all over again, where George Wallace was like, I don't want the National Guard. And the federal government's like, well, you have to integrate your school. You may not want to integrate your school, but guess what? You have to do it. And we have the jurisdiction and the right to make sure that you do. And thus, that's a great example when you need the federal government doing what the federal government does. Here is the president speaking on Sunday with my friend Maria Bartiromo, former colleague at actually both CNBC and Fox Business, saying, hey, I know Pritzker doesn't like it out there in Illinois. And I know that, Gavin Newsom doesn't really like it, but San Francisco needs it. Here's the deal. We're coming in. Tough luck.
governor who got thrown out of his business by his family because he's a dope. But the governor, Pritzker, he doesn't want us in. You know, if I were him, if I were a Democrat and I were him, I'd say, come on in. What do you have to lose?
And you're going to go to San Francisco next.
We're going to go to San Francisco. The difference is I think they want us in San Francisco. San Francisco was truly one of the great cities of the world.
It was.
And then 15 years ago, it went wrong. It went woke. Remember my statement? Anything woke is, and I used a filthy, well, broke is another word. I used a filthy word, but I didn't. No. I took enough heat on that. I won't say it again. But
here's the thing. He's coming for San Francisco. He's coming for Portland. They welcomed in D.C. Did you see that? I mean, the numbers just plunged in D.C. and they're continuing to plunge. I mean, this is good stuff. They're thrilled in Memphis. How many videos have we seen of people in Memphis, Tennessee saying, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you to the federal government, because now our kids can go outside and play. We can take the dog for a walk. We feel safer. And it's not just being safer. It's also that perception of feeling safer because they have all the National Guard there. So I'm sorry, the train has left the station. Nancy Pelosi, if you're not on board, if you are actually telling people to arrest agents, if any local politicians from Pritzker to Newsom to Brandon Johnson are telling people to arrest ICE agents, Letitia James, I'm looking at you too. You know what's going to happen? You're going to wind up in jail. Because then you are the problem. You are the one impeding. And this is serious stuff. I mean, Letitia James, for goodness sakes, and her nutty plan to, go after ICE agents because, yes, you have people that are illegally in the country that are illegally selling illegal counterfeit goods down on Canal Street. So her big idea is to try and assemble video of ICE going in and carrying them away. By the way, ICE doing everything the right way, but she's just hoping and praying maybe they don't and that she can arrest them. This is getting really weird, you guys. But what do you expect? I mean, Letitia James, this lady is, how do I say this nicely? Is there any way to say it nicely? I mean, Letitia James is just off her rocker. You have only to look at her outside the courthouse today. She's getting her day in court. And by the way, all the charges formally against her now. She was hit with all of them, right? Because, well, she apparently, according to some of the documentation I have seen, ABC News is reporting a little twist on this, but a lot of people are saying, they're not actually looking at some of the fine print and comparing and contrasting the fact that she had plenty of documents saying these
Good morning, Tony.
properties were income properties, okay? If you get an income property, you can't apply for a primary mortgage, and you certainly can't apply for a secondary mortgage.
Holly doubt she's going to win. She
James,
had her father sign the paper,
But
too.
then again, when we look at your history and your family history, dare I say, maybe you just think the law doesn't apply to you. That's my bet. Anyway, here she is, the irony of it all, outside the courthouse today. Remember, this is the woman who campaigned on getting Trump, who promised voters in New York that she would devote every waking moment and minute to getting Donald Trump. She has the audacity to say that this is political against her. Watch.
But this is not about me. This is about all of us. And about a justice system which has been weaponized. A justice system which has been used as a tool of revenge. This justice system which has been used as a tool of revenge.
Well, apparently she was worried you didn't hear it the first time. She had to say it again. She does that a lot. It's almost like Letitia is like channeling Kamala and then trying to do some kind of like inverted version of that because she says the same things over and over and over and over again, the same exact expression. Maybe that's her way of trying to avoid the Kamala word salad. Anyway, it's bad.
And a weapon against those individuals who simply did their job and who stood up for the rule of law.
Oh, she had a few fans out there. That's all you did, right, Letitia? You were just standing up for the rule of law, just doing your job. All while apparently getting like lower mortgage rates on things. I mean, the first one's quite obvious, like the primary residence. Now, she claims that's a clerical error made by her power of attorney. The second one, however, that's actually even more disturbing because she calls it a secondary home, promises that she's actually not going to rent it out in the legal binding document. We've got the mortgage documents I've shown you right here on the show. And then proceeds to call it a financial investment in yet another documentation for her taxes. So, which is it, Tishy baby? I think we know this is what, is going to get you in trouble. And I'm sorry, but there's a certain irony, as you know here, given that
Thanks
she's
for joining in. Good morning. Like and subscribe. Thank you.
It's political. What do you think we all went through? Oh, you know I'm going to play it, baby.
He's called me venomous. We will fight back to your attempt to bring Trumpism to New York City. He's called me disgraceful. Of the fact that they stole the Supreme Court seat. An illegitimate president and an illegitimate member of the United States Supreme Court. He's called me radical. Listen, yes, we know he's crazy. We know he doesn't have a sound mind. We know he's out of control. We know he's losing it. We know his days are numbered and we will come together. He's called me a racist. We've got to stand up to an administration which is too male, too pale, and too stale.
Wow, that's crazy.
Too pale and too stale. Too male, too pale, too stale. Thank you.
Oh boy, Tishy. Now what do we do about you? And I had to change the lower third because we said she faces up to 30 years in prison. Actually, she faces up to 60 years in federal prison for these charges. I mean, wow. And yes, you guys are pointing out, I'm looking at your notes here, that she also had a little incident back in 1983 with Daddy. Okay, so she suddenly became Daddy's wife on the mortgage application. I mean, is it me or are we seeing a pattern? We got House 1, just clerical oversight. It's the power of attorney's fault. I mean, she is an attorney. She ought to know better and be checking her power of attorney's work, right? And then the second one, no. That's just some kind of messed up thing because she's applying for a secondary mortgage and yet, okay, so she has it also in her tax records as an income property. Well, if it's an income property, it's a whole different mortgage game, right? She got an 0.8% better a rate, which turned out to be like a $17,000 value over the life of the loan, including something like $3,000 up front when she first did the financing. Wow. Okay. And then there's Daddy's home with her where she became the wife, okay, 1983. And we haven't even gotten into all the nieces living in the two homes in Norfolk, Virginia. And they're horrific past, okay? We're the really bad criminal records here. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm seeing a pattern, not to mention she seemed to have been housing a fugitive, which actually doesn't come with as much time as what she was doing on the alleged mortgage fraud. Yesterday morning, some people caught up with her. This is like Letitia James
Morning.
And she seems really kind of angry. But let me say, that's a lot of red on screen.
Good morning, Miss James.
No, not talking. She seems angry.
Miss James, do you have any comments with the ICE raids happening downtown? Does the AG's office have any opportunity to do any?
We sent out information for you to review.
So I wonder who pays for the car. In all seriousness, like who pays for the car? I've got to assume it's probably taxpayers because that's how this lady rolls, right? Oh, here's the thing. Look at that. Letitia James on Wednesday unveiling an online portal for residents to tattle on ICE agents. Newsmax had this story. And so that was what one of the reporters was asking about, but she was in too grumpy a mood to answer. Why? Because she knew she had to be in Norfolk, Virginia with her folk, right? All those nieces that, just kind of had sticky fingers when it came to Dillard's, Macy's. Was Walmart in there too? You wonder why some of these companies are pulling out of some of these cities, right? Ooh, yeah. So she's trying to get people to tattle. The whole time, she's under a microscope herself, all right? So the ICE thing is bad. You've got Nancy Pelosi under fire for that from Pam Bondi. You've now got Letitia James under fire for that from Pam Bondi. You've also got Letitia James in court today facing the music, if you would. Because Letitia James is going to have to effectively answer to all of these things. I mean, I don't know how she's going to explain, for example, this second home. I mean, we've talked about these bombshell records. I'm going to pull the computer a little bit closer to me so I can just walk you through this. This is the second home rider, and she dated this August 17th, 2020, and apparently it said that in addition to the covenants and agreements made in the security instrument, she basically is promising, in terms of occupancy, that she will occupy and use the property as her second home, that she will maintain exclusive control over the occupancy of the property, including short-term rentals. Short-term, not long-term, okay? Short-term. That's like Airbnb style, okay? So she signs up for the second mortgage as a secondary home, and then it turns out in the tax documents it's something else entirely. So this is a problem. This is a problem. And listen, she's like, oh, they're going after me because poor little me. I'm sorry, Tishy baby, I remember when you said this.
Donald Trump to pay $355 million for a decade of fraud. New York Attorney General Letitia James says she's prepared to do everything she can to make sure the former president pays his fine, including, she told us, seizing the buildings that bear his name.
If he does not have funds to pay off the judgment, then we will seek, judgment enforcement mechanisms in court, and we will ask the judge to seize his assets.
So what was that about?
Wow.
It was about trying to bankrupt someone. And gosh darn it, she nearly did it. I mean, you're talking $500 million. This she wanted. I mean, we do have this thing called the Eighth Amendment, where the crime and punishment kind of have to be somewhat in sync, and that's why the appellate court of the state of New York threw that one out like one hot puppy. Boom, done, over. And now she's going back and she's suing again. I mean, this woman is like a rabid individual, and she thinks that everything has been weaponized against her, as though she never weaponized anything against one Donald Trump.
I watch the fake news, and he's weaponized, and he wants to send them to prison. He wants all this. They indicted me like 5 times. I took a mugshot. Who would have thought it turned out to my favor? Because it was a good shot. But I had to take a mugshot. It's right out there on the door. New York Post, front page of every paper in the world. I had a mugshot. They wanted to send me. Nobody says that. They say he's acting very, very tough. He's acting unfair. Let me tell you, if anything, I think this Justice Department has been so respectful of the law, because the other Justice Department, with Rita or Lisa and all of that scum, real scum, what they did to the political opponent of a guy that has a seriously low IQ. Now, in his case, it was low.
Talking about mine.
Based on his career, but it got real low. Okay?
Mental health decline.
It was descending rapidly.
Yep.
But what they did to go after his political opponent is legendary. Worse than any third world country, banana republic.
It actually is. He's right. It's like worse than any banana republic that we've seen. Of course, they didn't actually succeed in getting him in jail. I mean, that's like very, very banana republic stuff. But now you look around,
Right.
like,
What y'all
I think
think?
that there are going to
Let's
be
go Trump.
some players that are going to be in trouble. And look, it happened before, right? Think what happened to Steve Bannon. Think about what happened to Peter Navarro. Think about what they put anybody who was associated with Donald Trump through. Think about the 30 million phone records that they were gathering on anybody that had had interaction with anybody Trump. I'm sure I was in that, right? Think about the debanking that went on. I mean, there were like a ton of things. And think about how much they lied to us over and over and over again. And Letitia James, for you to sit there and cry victim as though you somehow are being unfairly targeted when I don't know who the heck does that on mortgage documents. I'll tell you, Adam Schiff, I don't know who the heck says they have 2 primary homes. I once lived in California, had a home in New Hampshire. Guess what? It was my vacation home, even though I lived full-time in California. Because guess what? You know what? You can't have, I had a rental, by the way, even though I had a rental in California, you can't have 2 primary homes. I mean, why weren't the banks getting freaked out? You got to ask yourself that question too. Anyway, Letitia promised to go after Trump on the campaign trail. You saw the montage. Here's another one. I love what Byron Donalds has to say about her. By the way, Byron's got a big political future. Don't doubt me on that one. He's fantastic, former financial advisor. He actually understands markets and the economy. I love him. Here he is talking about Tishy.
I look forward to going into the office of Attorney General every day, suing him, defending your rights, and then going home.
Congressman Donald, she said this is nothing to see here, it's just retribution, but that sounds like retribution.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Her entire campaign for Attorney General of New York was to go after one man, and that one man was Donald Trump. She was letting real criminals go. She was letting them go scot-free in New York, but she ran just to go after President Trump, and it's wrong. It's a misuse of power, abuse of power. And now we find out that she was not on the up and up with her personal documents, and now she wants to feign outrage. Well, look, this is very simple. If you live in a glass house, don't throw stones.
Preach.
It's really simple. But unfortunately, Letitia James, she's indicted because it appears that, yes, she was defrauding mortgage companies to get a favorable down payment and a favorable interest rate, and she thought nobody was going to check.
Yeah. Well, you know, she weaponized the whole thing. She's actually, there are some within the Democrat circle, this is why she's like so into Mamdani right now. Comrade Mamdani is like the only one who's going to support her, along with Kathy Hochul, who's a political animal herself. But in the state of New York, you have a lot of people who are saying, hey, Tishy, baby, you got to resign because this is really, really bad. And think about the Wisconsin judge who was forced to resign because, hey, when you're the judge and you're saying, oh, just slip out my back door because I don't care what you may or may not have done to your wife. I don't care about the domestic abuse allegations going on. We just care that, oh, it's going to be bad because you got ICE waiting outside. So let me give you a pass. Well, that is direct violation of federal law, and you're a judge. You can't really be doing that, right? So the Supreme Court.
Thank you for watching this with me. Thank you for watching.
Bye bye. See you later. Well, how can you have an attorney general that is allegedly guilty of some pretty serious stuff, on top of which she's now trying to arrest ICE agents? I mean, this is going to get messy really, really fast. And so most of New York is not like New York City. Most of New York has no use for this woman. Most of New York is like, bye. I mean, they hate her more than they hate Schumer, which is saying a lot. And so she's trying to glom onto New York City and Mamdani and hopefully Kathy Hochul, who, by the way, is also underwater on her polls. So a lot of folks, like deep down in the party, are saying, you know, maybe we need to back away from this. Maybe it would be better if she just resigned because, again, all this stuff is going to come back to haunt her. Like, the 1983 mortgage document. Are you looking at it? Am I looking at it? If you are listening to the show on Spotify, thank you. We are also on video on Spotify. Actually, incidentally, guys, I put that link at the very tippy top. That's like the West Coast repay. We always go there after. So please make sure that you subscribe to my Spotify channel. It's important, even just from an ego standpoint, because I'm at like 14,000 subs there. We're at 1.1 million here. So help me out. Show me some love. I am looking at the mortgage document between Robert James and Letitia James, his wife. Oh, that's a little strange. I mean, she was his daughter, not his wife, okay? His daughter. So I'm a little bit troubled. Are you a little bit troubled?
Wow, that's crazy.
Sort of thinking, Letitia, you know, you just kind of, you've worn out your welcome, so to speak here. We're getting a little bit tired of this. Letitia James back in 1983 making the choice, the really bad choice, to sign onto a mortgage document with her father as though she were his wife. Because why? Maybe he needed to show that he had some kind of steady income and she was by then out working. And so that may have been the thinking. It's kind of like, I hate to say this, but when you look at the nieces, right? And you see that the nieces have all of their problems. And you see that there's this kind of mentality, especially within some of this DEI nonsense mindset, that you're kind of owed something, right? That it's yours to take. That, when these protests were going on during the summer of 2020, that it was the, duty of the insurance companies to pay for all the damage done, that somehow people were entitled to take things because they deserved it, right? Because, I'm sorry, they would say the color of their skin and therefore they're owed reparations, etc. I'm not buying that. You know what? You stand on your own 2 damn feet every single day in this world. I never bought for 2 seconds that I couldn't have as successful a show because I'm a woman. Hey, if anything, I think I'm in better shape because women like women and men like women. So hey, I got a bigger pool to choose from. Thank you very much. I've never bought any of this, not for 2 seconds. I mean, hey, you want to put me in a race against a naturally born man? Yeah, I'm going to lose that all day long. But when it comes to intellectual power, etc., no. The fact that I'm a woman, the fact that I grew up on a dirt road in a little town in New Hampshire, none of that matters. Because what matters in this country, in our economy, is our wonderful and great meritocracy. But I look at somebody like Letitia James and I think, you're a lawyer. Like, what was going through your head that you thought it was okay in 1983 to sign up with Daddy as his wife?
Wow, that's nasty.
Because somehow
nasty.
You think you're entitled? Isn't she the one that told us over and over again how there can't be a different set of rules for people? Yeah, I do believe that I heard that quite a few times from one Letitia James when she was asked about this case that she now is trying to file. Oh, I'm not guilty, I'm just the victim. She was asked about this by an MSNBC host, one that looks just like Rachel Maddow. I mean, it's unbelievable. It is uncanny how they pick their hosts over there at MSNBC. You know, at Fox, they say you got to be blonde. At MSNBC, you got to look like Rachel Maddow. Here's Chris Hayes asking Tishy about just exactly what went down. She doesn't want to answer anything.
I will respond to these baseless allegations at the appropriate time and in the appropriate way, but I am 100% confident that it will not result in any criminal indictment or action against me, and that it is nothing more than a revenge tour, and that Donald Trump just ultimately got to the Jays, and I was next.
The key allegation, again, it sounds like you don't want to address them here, but I'm just going to put it out so people understand that a property that was owned in Virginia, a mortgage that you signed, if I'm not mistaken, for that property, that they say you falsely represented yourself as a resident of Virginia, and that was essentially amounts to mortgage fraud since you're a resident of New York. What is your response to that?
It's baseless. Everybody knows I'm a resident of New York, specifically Brooklyn. And again, we will respond at the appropriate time in the appropriate way to these baseless allegations. And some media outlets like the Daily News over the weekend has indicated as much.
That's all you want to say?
That's all that I'm going to say.
He's like,
wow.
Well, I don't know where to go from here. That's all she's going to give me. That's all she's going to say. Because you see, she was saving it up. She was saving it up for her big day outside the courthouse where she told us nothing. Right? She just went on and on about, I'm the victim now. I'm the victim. No one is buying it, Tish.
But this is not about me. This is about all of us.
No, it's about you.
Justice system, which has been weaponized. A justice system which has been used as a tool of revenge. This justice system which has been used as a tool of revenge.
Again, repeating yourself.
Forgive me. Thanks for watching.
Against those individuals who simply did their job and who stood up for the rule of law.
You know I'm here. I'm nobody.
Save it for the judge, honey. Okay, you're gonna need that defense. You're gonna need some money too. Abby Lowell costs a pretty penny, I hear. That's why she's hitting up the legal defense fund. You see, she could only get $1 million, it seems, out of New York taxpayers, even though Kathy Hochul had set aside $10 million for her. The thing is, it didn't look that good, right? It just didn't look good because it's a personal matter. And so she was going to be taking New York taxpayer money for a personal matter. So now she has to go and hit up all these big, donor types, and she'll probably get the money. Hey, I mean, there's more George Soroses out there than you'd think. Plus the Reed Hoffmans, etc. There are a lot of people that are willing to help bankroll her, and it's kind of gross, but it is where we are, and it is just, part of what's happening. Hey, you know what else is happening? CNN is about to be sold. So there's a big article this week in the Hollywood Reporter. There was another big article, actually, in the New York Times. It was even better because they talked about 3 offers, all from the same company, all from David Ellison. David Ellison is the son of Larry Ellison, one of the wealthiest guys in the world, good friend of President Trump. And
Good morning. Happy Monday. Thanks for joining in.
Paramount. That Paramount deal with Skydance,
Like and
where they
subscribe.
bought CBS. Well, now he's got CBS, he's got Paramount, and he's swooping in for the kill, and he wants Warner Brothers Discovery. But it's bad for CNN. It's bad for CNN because you see, nobody actually wants CNN. By the way, Warner Brothers Discovery really, really does not want Ellison buying it because, again, per the New York Times story, he made 3 offers, and they're like, And so now they say they've got other interests. We're not so sure about that. There are reports that Comcast maybe would be interested, but Comcast, what are you thinking? I mean, you got enough problems of your own, right? Heck, you're spinning off MSNBC because you can't wait to get rid of Rachel Maddow and company. So that probably wouldn't work for you. There's talk of, Comcast out there, maybe a few others possibly circling. I'm not entirely sure that I buy all this interest. I think this is partly an effort, if you would, from Zaslav. And by the way, he's doing the right thing. He wants to get the most money for shareholders, trying to drum up more interest out there. I will say this, you know what? If this actually happens, guess what? Guess what? CNN is most likely going to go away. And that's because the company is really not an asset anymore. It doesn't make any money. It's kind of a headache. You've already got CBS News, right? So focus on streaming. You don't want to join CNN and CBS because then you're suddenly victim to all the crazy things that CNN might say on the air, possibly affecting your business at CBS because the FCC has jurisdiction over CBS, whereas they don't have jurisdiction over CNN. But, and this is what MSNBC and NBC quickly found out, it doesn't sit that well when you have one team of anchors constantly bashing the president and spouting fake news, and then you have the network. Well, let's face it, they were doing that too, right? I mean, that's what the 60 Minutes lawsuit was about. And that's what over at ABC, the George Stephanopoulos $16 million settlement was about, because they were spouting fake news on FCC-controlled airwaves. But, why do you want to commingle these two things? I think the short answer is they don't. The short answer is these guys are going to go bye-bye, bye-bye. So I would say that all of the talent at CNN, their days are numbered. Who's the one that just bought that home in Nantucket, kind of a pricey home? Is it Caitlin Collins? Ooh, Caitlin. I wouldn't be scooping up any more extra properties right about now. And didn't I tell you Jake Tapper was going to be done? Why else was he suddenly coming out with a book, pretending the entire time that somehow he had nothing to do with the propping up of one Joe Biden, despite the fact that, we saw this over and over again, right? Do you remember the clip where he did this really nasty turn on Lara Trump, saying, how dare you accuse Joe Biden of being mentally incompetent? Have you never heard of a stutter?
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline. Okay. That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You are
watch somebody on stage
it's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnoose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses, diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar, I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive decline.
That Joe Biden
I have one last question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning to a lot of people that this could be the leader of the free world.
Okay.
That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe Biden.
I appreciate it. I'm sure.
No, you don't. You're just a jerk. I mean, the guy's like, I'm sorry. He's a sorry excuse for a journalist. He's a hitman for the Democrat Party. I mean, I don't know how else to describe that. His buddies like David Plouffe and what's his name, Rhodes. I mean, like these are his buddies, right? Along with George Clooney, who he got close with because, you know, they had to do some kind of takedown of Biden at some point. Yeah, that really worked out well for you, right? The Democrat Party really appreciated that you took out the guy that they actually elected. Yeah, voters really loved that one. Guys, like, you lost the union vote on that, okay? Like, that was not a brilliant move by any standard. But he's not a brilliant guy. He really isn't, and he definitely is not much of a personality or a looker on television. I'm sorry to be so mean, but voice matters. You don't have to have the looks. I'll be fair. You know what? But voice actually matters. Content, truth, fairness matters. And this idiot had the audacity to then say, oh, I was wrong. Biden's bad. And then wrote a book about it.
There is a pattern, discernible pattern of Democratic officials seemingly trying to convince you, the public, to not believe what you saw and what you heard with your eyes and with your ears on Thursday night.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we had to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
That was the line when Trump was like, oh, I don't know about that. I mean, he beat it to death, right? It was surreal watching that debate. By the way, Joe Biden, clearly no sense of self. And clearly Dr. Jill Biden had no sense of self, nor any sense of her husband, because if anybody had two brain cells, they never actually would have allowed him on stage to do that debate, okay? Just saying. Because you completely exposed. The emperor has no clothes. Like, that was then very, very apparent to everyone. And so what does Jake do? He suddenly realizes he can't go and just attack Lara Trump anymore, or all of us. You had KJP out there saying we were like, we were fake news, right? Because we were showing you the videotapes of him not knowing when to sit when he was in Normandy, of him at G7 wandering off because, you know, like a little kid, he got kind of interested in the balloon over there. So he wanders off. Giorgia Meloni, gracious Prime Minister of Italy, beautiful woman, really great conservative, will do wonders for that country, trust me. She brings him back. I mean, lovely, lovely, gracious woman. She's like the only one who noticed, right? Macron's like, huh? They're all like looking at the camera, waiting for their shot as Joe Biden wanders off and he tries to put on his sunglasses like a little old man that he was. All right, so we show you that here on the Trish Regan Show. And KJP, who's out with a new book, and it's just a mess, one hot mess. She's like, oh, they're just cheap fakes. No, there's nothing fake about it. You guys were the cheap fakes. Cheap, for that matter. Anyway, MSNBC, they're also in a situation where they're going to find themselves. Oh, we did this story the other day. You can go and look it up. They totally embarrassed themselves over those archive photos. It's like they don't even know what's an archive, what's not an archive. We have a chapter on it on the channel, so I encourage you to do that. But I'm just going to say this. Whether you're talking about CNN in this new world, the talent's not going to survive. They're just not going to survive. Or whether you're talking about MSNBC talent, they're also not going to survive. I actually think these two, like, have more survival instincts than you'd think. Watch.
Now, whenever this happens, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, you never know. But I actually think those two will survive, right? The whole Mar-a-Lago, kissing in the ring thing, they're trying to act like they care about the conservative agenda. They're no fools. So they're trying desperately to cling to their jobs. The one that's actually really going to be in trouble, the one that they didn't really explain this new spin-off to with Versant, that could actually be Rachel Maddow. We saw in the media reports that she didn't even know how to say, well, can you blame her? It's Ms. Now. MS now? She didn't know how to say it. By the way, is it not funny that they're going with the red, white, and blue thing over the rainbow? What's that about? Oh, I wonder. I think we all know. But you know what? Fine. There's a sea change going on, and if they want to jump on board with red, white, and blue, heck, I'll welcome them. But the reality is, even the red, white, and blue won't save them. They have already dug their own grave, and they will be a disaster in this spinoff, including people like Rachel Maddow, who I don't think will actually be able to survive. And
Good morning. Thanks for joining in.
the simple fact
Like and
that
subscribe.
it's too much money. Right? Like, you can't make $25 million, reportedly. That's what she gets for one show a week. So what are they paying? To put her picture on a billboard? Nobody watches her. Like, no one. Like, the ratings are actually horrific. I mean, it might be a smidge better than Jen Psaki, Peppermint Patty, but that's not saying a whole lot now, is it? Yeah, because Jen's like way down. I mean, they have miserable ratings at that network, and they can't afford to do this. So in this new media world, these cable companies, like a CNN, like an MSNBC, are totally challenged. And I suspect when Skydance, Paramount gets in there and buys up CNN, poof, gone is CNN. They're actually buying it for Warner Brothers Discovery. They don't want CNN. They're going to get rid of it. And by the way, if they strike a deal where they don't actually purchase CNN, CNN is still really in tough shape. I was going to say something else, but I won't. Really in tough shape. You know why? They can't make any money, so they are going to spin it off, just like they're doing with MSNBC. They will spin it off, and poor Jakey and poor Anderson Cooper and the rest of them, Caitlin Collins, right? They're not going to be able to afford those fancy homes in Nantucket anymore. They're going to actually have to play in the real world and make a more modest salary. Or, hey, come over to the dark side. It's pretty good over here on YouTube. Start a podcast. Listen, I got to tell you, poor Rachel, she is now the subject of an AI meme that is absolutely hysterical because you see, it turns out that her own company, Comcast, that's the one that's the parent company of MSNBC, they actually were one of the sponsors of the ballroom. So you know how Trump is redoing the East Wing and all these people on MSNBC and all these Democrats are so upset about it. He's destroying history. The East Wing historically has been used for first ladies. Well, he decided he wanted to renovate and he was going to go out and spend a fair amount of money, like $300 million. But he said, you know what? I'm not going to charge the taxpayers. I'm going to get corporate America to fund this thing. Okay? And that's what he did. So you have companies like, what do you know? Take a look. Comcast. There they are, right underneath Caterpillar and Coinbase. You've got Comcast Corporation helping to pay for the $300 million renovation. That would be Rachel Maddow's MSNBC employer. So there's now this AI meme. They took like some little segment of her show where she started like basically crying on the air. And it's just kind of funny. It's of course a joke, but let's watch it together.
Oh. To at least 3. Oh. Put up the graphic of this.
There's the graphic. You see Comcast?
We have it.
Beautiful.
I think I'm going to have to hand this off.
Oh, poor Rachel. Poor Rachel. That really stinks when your own company is one of the donors. There you go. There's the whole list. Take a look at that, guys. So, you know what's amazing here? He's actually not spending any taxpayer dollars. He's doing a $300 million renovation. No taxpayer money involved. Don't tell that to ABC. I mean, the ladies on The View, they forgot to do their little legal checks. Whoopi Goldberg lying again.
Your taxes are probably going to be paying for that. That ballroom. I mean, it's kind of kooky.
No, you know what's kooky? You trying to lie, because Donald Trump has said over and over and over again he's got private funding for the thing. By the way, it's pretty. Just saying. Prettier than her hairdo, anyway.
Good morning, Dominique.
Anyway, they are flipping out. Like,
good morning. Thanks for joining in.
Because I'm going to show you sort of a vintage clip from 2010 of CNN being ecstatic because Barack Obama decided to get rid of the tennis court and put in a basketball court at the White House, along with renovating his abode there because he and Michelle couldn't possibly live in such squalor as the White House was at that point. So they went forward with a $376 million renovation, which in 2012 actually equates to, if you factor in about a 45% increase in cost during that time. Yeah, I told you we had inflation. Somewhere between $520 and $550 million. So a $500 million renovation paid for by you and me. And every American taxpayer. That's not what Donald Trump is doing at all.
Big difference.
And yet, my gosh, they think they got a dog with a bone here. Look at Schumer on his TikTok. Who even knew he had a TikTok?
No, I get what you're saying, but the ballroom needs to be done. It makes sense.
We faced in decades, and what is
We'll be there for the next 4 years, bringing in new leaders or leaders. Why not have a better representation?
Built. It's another ego project for Donald Trump.
Kennedy put a pool. Obama put a basketball court.
The suffering of the American people. What a disgrace.
Oh, what a disgrace. You know, you guys are a disgrace. You're trying to make more of this than it should be. Again, this is the East Wing. It was the First Lady's sort of headquarters way back when. Like, if you go back to World War II era, it actually had been used for some military planning and staging, but it's gotten kind of run down. In 1970, Rosalind Carter remodeled
it's not just party, just representation when they do come.
And
it's not just for Trump either, it's for other people.
Kind of
After
really
Trump, it's going to still be there.
So he's like, hey, I'm going to make a ballroom. I'll get it paid for by corporate America and individual donors, and everybody freaks out. I mean, go back to 2010. I don't see them.
So, Jackie Smith, good morning.
Obama got rid of the tennis court and put in a basketball
like and subscribe.
And decided to redo the family.
I got the receipts, bro. Is she lying what she's saying?
Live in a dump like that, and then they charged you in
she's showing the receipts.
$500 million. Forgive me, $520 to $550 billion in today's dollars to do it. And gosh darn it, the CNN reporters are cheering it on like it's manna from heaven.
Sounds like they're building another wing to the White House, but we appreciate you keeping your focus.
I can't even imagine, TJ. It's going to happen for the next 2 years.
Woo-hoo.
All of the banging, the jackhammering, the dust, the confusion, the noise of all places to do construction is happening right here, the front lawn of the White House.
Woo!
It's a 4-year renovation project. Estimated cost $376 million.
520 in today's dollars, okay? To $550 million. Nobody squawked. Nobody said boo. The media was thrilled. So what changed? Oh, we know what changed, okay? We know exactly what changed. It's TDS on steroids. It is who is in office. It's fine for Obama to spend your money, but it's not okay for President Trump to spend individual donors' money. They're all flipping out. This is not acceptable. Give me a break. You know what's great? Oh, there's a great clip I got to show you from this morning because another one of my former colleagues, this guy's a good guy, actually, Joe Kerr.
Private donors, yet taxpayers be paid it.
Conservative on there, really. And,
that's crazy. So y'all are mad about donors paying for it, but yet we pay for it.
Not to be a conservative. I'll take that back because you get some others like Santelli, who's pretty conservative as well. Anyway, Joe's a good guy. He had Hakeem Jeffries on.
You understand the Epstein list now? What happened to 8 years ago?
It is fantastic. This is
20 years ago about this Epstein stuff.
See TV. Occasionally, you have these moments in cable, believe it or not. And you know I got to bring it to you. Let's watch Hakeem.
No, it's not, man. That's because the Democrats don't want to vote.
Ridiculously.
They want to send all that money overseas, pay for illegal people that they didn't come here the right way. They came here bogus.
Conflated a spending bill with a clean CR.
Big difference.
It's only 24 pages. It keeps
I'm very
the
educated.
government open at this point. And the House passed it. It's ready to go. The Senate has it. I know that the Republicans control everything, but you know how the filibuster works. And God forbid Republicans, fold on the filibuster because it'll be used, both parties will use it against the other. It's one of the last safeguards that make the Senate different than the House. And the only reason the Senate can't do it is purely because of Democrats. And you had one of your colleagues in the Senate say, this is the only leverage we have. People are going to get hurt. This is the only leverage we have to get what we want on health care. That's a bad look.
Yeah, this is not about leverage. And by the way, if the votes of Democratic senators are required, then of course there should be a bipartisan discussion about enacting a spending bill that is designed to actually make life better for the American people, lower the high cost of living in an environment where Donald Trump and Republicans promised that costs were going to go down on day one. Costs aren't going down. Inflation is moving in the wrong direction. The Trump tariffs are causing thousands of dollars of additional expense on everyday Americans. Grocery costs have gone up. Housing costs are going up. Electricity bills are through the roof. And now tens of millions of people are facing dramatically increased healthcare premiums. In some instances, $1,000 or $2,000 more per month. These are working class people. This is unaffordable. And of course, it's a crisis that is going on right now.
But what changed from when the Democrats said we will not negotiate when the government is shut down on health care? Not now, reopen the government, then we'll negotiate. That happened in 2013. What happened?
That's right, Blue Dragon. MAGA, baby. MAGA.
Where you can use a government shutdown to extract concessions from Republicans.
No, she should not be pardoned. No, if she was a part of that shit, hell no, I don't pardon her. Keep her ass in the fucking jail.
Government immediately. Donald Trump has refused to meet with Democrats over the last 24 days.
He said open it first.
More time on the Gulf
Yes, just justice for the victims. Of course.
Talking to Democrats on Capitol
I'm not an evil person, man. I love everybody. Even my enemies.
Justice give him $230 million in taxpayer money. He's found time to bail out a right-wing wannabe dictator in Argentina with $40 billion. He's found time to demolish
those kids, those victims do not deserve that. Whatever happened to them.
Way possible because he wants to
pray for him.
Ballroom
in Jesus' name.
Celebrated like a king. He's found time for all of these things, but somehow can't be bothered.
Thank you guys for joining in. Appreciate it. Like and subscribe. Thanks for joining in. Really appreciate it. Name's Deunta.
Oh, goodness gracious. Well, it's hard. Let me just tell you. I worked at CNBC for years. I worked at Bloomberg Television for years. I worked at Fox. I worked at CBS. When I was at CNBC, I was at NBC News as well. So look, I've seen it all. I was even at one point somebody who would go on Good Morning America and talk about the economy there. So like, I get it. I know the constraints that these anchors are put. This is why I love it over here, right? Like, make sure you subscribe, share, like, and hit the bell.
Thanks for the likes. Thanks for subscriing. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
So like,
happy Monday.
Well, actually, I wouldn't have let him get away with even that on my show, but he probably wouldn't.
No, sending money overseas to Argentina makes no sense either. America first. I don't know what's going on. I don't like it either.
Why didn't you guys make a fuss way back when? Like, why is it suddenly now? I mean, we know the answer. It's TDS. And then he starts to go, he's giving $40 billion to 40 million. Forgive me, to Argentina. Part of that, by the way, guys, is because the U.S. and U.S. investors have a lot of money invested in Argentina. It goes back to the Brady bonds. I actually used to work at Goldman Sachs.
Yep, she's breaking it down for us right here.
Argentine. We were trading Argentine. We were trading Mexican, Venezuelan.
Of course he does.
Bonds. So I know a lot about this stuff.
That's what I voted for.
Because we have an investment there, it's important that Argentina succeed for us, right? Like when Milei got elected, guess what? U.S. markets went way up because we have investments there. So that's actually a little bit more complicated than Hakeem Jeffries wants to make it to be. So there's that. And then there's, of course, the ballroom, which is such a point of contention. Guys, we're not paying for it. I love it. He's making it look a lot better. And why wouldn't you want that? Well, they don't want it because they don't want anything that makes him look good, period. Right? They just want to go
That's not what's going on, Dominic, man. That's not what's going on. All these blue cities and states cause all these immigrants to come in. And they let them in, especially into the poor neighborhoods with poor people, black, brown, whoever is poor. Bad shit happened. People weren't paying their rent. All type of shit was going on. It was more than to what you think it is.
A lot of money that's been going.
National Guard needed to be in Chicago. I'm from Chicago.
There've been accusations by the Democrats that that's not
and really
a thing. That
money from the federal government is not going to illegal immigrants. Maria, just in the last few months, in the few states that we've examined, less than half a dozen, we've identified more than $1 billion with a B, and more than $1 billion of money, federal tax dollars that have gone to illegal immigrants. We're actually clawing that money back from those states now. But the fact that that could still happen is very frustrating to all of us. And
How you doing, Kyle?
Appeal that after all the work that was put into ensuring that these programs that work so well for vulnerable populations would remain intact financially.
Yeah, did you hear that? $1 billion. That's a lot of money, you guys. $1 billion. And you know what's even more money? What's even more money is what they're trying to do with the $1.5 trillion. That's how much they want. And even though they say, oh no, the federal government cannot give any money to anybody who's here illegally, they give it to the states. And when they give it to the states, guess what? The states then give it out to the hospitals for illegal healthcare. And that's why we learned that California in particular had been giving out more than $600 billion. So we're talking about a ton of money. It's not acceptable. We can't afford it. It's bonkers. And yet they keep doing it. I mean, it's really kind of a travesty, and this is the same party, mind you, that years ago.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Like, oh yeah, I mean, clearly, you know, we cannot have the welfare system from Mexico happening here in this country. This was like a Dianne Feinstein talking point. You go back, I could play a tape. I won't, but I'll play a tape one of these days. I think I've done it in the past. Of Hillary Clinton, of Barack Obama, all saying the same thing. Bill Clinton saying the same thing. Gosh, they'd sound like fascists in today's world.
What you mean I sprout for years? I don't sprout nothing for years. You don't know me.
It's not right. There's legal immigration and there's illegal immigration.
I don't do that.
So we got enough problems, right? And on top of that, we're dealing with high costs
Like and subscribe.
as it is. I mean, Big Pharma is a big part of this, and they should be held accountable, and they're going to be held accountable because I'll tell you, President Trump's doing what no other president has done before. I'm happy to partner with conservatives for lower health care on this one because Big Pharma and its army of lobbyists have been working overtime to keep Americans paying the world's highest drug prices. Like, how does that happen? Why? In a country like ours, are we paying the most? It's terrible. They've already, even before Trump came into office, they were hiking prices on all kinds of drugs, hundreds of medicines this year, while flooding the market with billions of dollars worth of marketing that goes on all those mainstream media and cable news outlets. Yeah, I told you, I can't watch the news with my kids anymore, not that I want to. But the point being, they spend a lot of money marketing, and they should be actually trying to reduce costs for everyday Americans. They're pushing, these government mandates, for goodness sakes, which are designed to stack the deck in their favor. And so the goal in Washington is simple: escape accountability, block free market competition, jack up outrageous prices. And that means more government intrusion, more government regulation, bigger profits for them, and higher costs for everyday families and businesses. So that's not acceptable. Conservatives for lower healthcare costs is warning right now that Big Pharma has an agenda that's going to stick American employers and Americans, everyday folks with billions of dollars.
I just said something to you, Kyle.
Higher drug costs, and President Trump isn't backing down. He's serious.
In some
about
states,
this.
the prices have went
About
down.
this. They want lower drug costs. They don't want Americans to be gouged. So there's a lot that can happen. We need to introduce reforms to stop Big Pharma schemes, to stop them from allowing generics, which obviously keep prices high. If you don't allow the generics, for goodness sakes, and yes, you get high prices. So join me here in rejecting Big Pharma's agenda. Visit pharmawindfall.com. I put it up on the screen today to help lower drug prices. This is important. Yeah, I get angry about it. I do. But here's some good news. The mainstream media being forced to admit that, hey, what do you know? The guy that they so hate, the dictator, whatever they want to call him, he's doing kind of a good job on gas prices. Is he not? And we got a lower than expected read on inflation too. What do you know? They had to admit this on Good Morning America. It's priceless. Watch.
down and how low can they go?
Ooh, we are looking at these lower prices. So from the skies to the roads we go here. Gas Buddy saying that the national average price of gasoline fell to less than $3 yesterday. That's the lowest intraday level since 2021. You know, they fluctuate throughout the day. But seasonal factors could drive prices even lower. Gas Buddy's forecasting a national average in the 280s by the end of the year. This morning,
I don't know yet about the tariffs yet. How good they are or bad they are. I don't know yet. I can't answer that yet.
So we're talking about Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, or even Mississippi. You're in luck right now because prices are in the 250s.
I'm not learning from anything. I'm just sharing it.
California, Hawaii, and Washington, they're still seeing.
So what is she saying that was bogus and that's not the truth? When it came to Chris James and it came to the ballroom, Obama built a basketball court.
This year, weaker demand and inflation finally easing. So let's hope this trend continues.
I am speaking up. I'll turn the volume down then.
Oh my gosh. Why? Because it's drill, baby, drill. Okay? When you drill and when you create incentives to indicate that you're going to drill some more, guess what? Oil prices come down, gas prices come down. And now what are we looking at? Lower inflation as well. Let's go to my buddy Santelli. I told you one of two conservatives over there at CNBC, so give him some credit for that. Saying, take a look at these numbers. CPI, I love it.
The market should be excited too. Here's our late but coming out September read on the consumer price index.
Bro, the White House been torn down and rebuilt before because of the Brits.
And what we were expecting.
But come on, you know history, man. The White House been touched, burnt down, all type of shit been happening to that White House. Why is what Trump does is the problem. So if Kamala had won, you'd have been all cool for it. If she had done something to the White House, stop it.
Moneyball numbers year over year, 3%. And even though it's less than the 3.1 we were expecting, it's
bro,
2.9.
Private donors are paying for this. We paid for the court that Obama put down. Another president's party in the past. This is a big difference.
We're also expecting 3.1, but last look was 3.1. So
I'm not rambling. What you talking about? I am giving you facts. She gave you facts. That's why I'm showing it.
Interest rates move down and stocks.
Are you watching the show?
Hey, guess what? Mainstream media. Hey, guess what? Democrats. Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi. He's winning.
What did you talk about? Basketball hoops. It's still a court. What are you talking about? You play basketball?
I mean, it's so great. It's so great. By the way, market ending the day higher. The Dow Jones
And then, okay, who put the tennis court there?
Nasdaq up 1.15%.
You know how old the White House is?
S&P up trading at nearly 0.8%.
You're funny.
Nice way to go out the week. By the way, if you have not, please
Good morning. I appreciate you in the show. You're funny.
This is my company. I started the Dear Friend. Very, very important you look at this.
You're not a sheep. That's good. I'm not a sheep either. That's what's up.
Blue in the face. I've told you.
We alphas, no betas here.
We are off and running. So please take a look at some of our portfolios. We have 3 portfolios right now. Great numbers there. Please take
Okay, how did the tennis court get there? I didn't say he put a tennis court there. Are you listening, man? Are you watching the show?
$1 for the first 2 months and it goes to $9.
I'm glad you responded, but you ain't watching nothing she said.
For sure.
Or what I'm saying.
Oh, they're freaking out in Canada. They're freaking out in Canada. My lower third is freaking out here too. Let me see if I can get that one up for you. So they're freaking out in Canada. I'm sorry for all our Canadian viewers. You know I love you. But we got a little bit of a thing going on, right? Because apparently Canada's government decided to misuse or misquote Ronald Reagan. And they did this to try and influence American opinion on these Canadian tariffs. So that was not so appreciated, shall we say, by the Reagan.
It's not about the cost.
Like the library was like, wait a second, like he's being taken out of context here. It was also
the White House been touched before about it's been renovated many a times, different ways. It's been burned down, rebuilt.
He's busy. He's got to go to
What's the difference?
Anyway, right? Take a look.
Next one, sir. Trump announced all trade talks
You're not paying for it.
being called off.
Comcast,
because of an alleged
Google
ad that showed Ronald Reagan bad-mouthing tariffs. Okay, the president's angry about this.
We all paying for it.
No more talks with Canada. But where do we go from here?
Well, I mean, the president, I'm sure,
yeah, it was funny.
Has his reasons. There have been a lot of talks,
I have a sense of humor, man. I like funny shit. If it's funny, it's funny.
The president probably more
I'm gonna laugh at it.
Is frustrated with.
If not, I'll share it too.
With Canada, and sometimes when you're frustrated, timeout is the right call, and the president's saying no talks with Canada. I would guess that at some point between now and the end of his term, he'll talk to Canada again. But yes, right now, I think there's been frustration with the behavior of the Canadians, the demeanor of the Canadians, the positions of the Canadians. And so it's probably a good time to take a break for a while.
Okay, so we're taking a little break, okay? It's not the end of the world. We're going to take a little break Canada, I have a feeling we'll find a way to work it out. We always do, right? I don't think anybody takes it that seriously. The markets wouldn't be up if we thought, all HELL was breaking loose with Canada. By the way, we've had a little bit of HELL breaking loose with some of those vessels, right? In the Caribbean, another one taken out. We got that video earlier this morning. They're not messing around. Like Monroe Doctrine, alive and well. Thank you very much. It's taken a while, but hey, you don't mess around in our hemisphere. You don't. And they're very, very, very serious about this. I love that they're so serious about this because, it really is something that needs to be dealt with. And again, he's there. He's there to win. This is Trump 2.0. We're on the front lines of history here every day. Please make sure you subscribe, share, like. Make sure you make a comment. I do actually look at all of those.
This is going to be a thing. People are going to start, instead of stealing groceries start watching people go to their cars. And they're going to take all of their groceries. And you know what the store going to do? Not our business. It's outside the store. They didn't do it in the store. It's not our property.
And then y'all gonna cry when the grocery store close. That's what be my problem, guys.
We watch so many videos. Why they got rid of the grocery store on our side of town?
It's not our property. Call 911. Call the authorities. Make a report. They're gonna leave your ass for dead. And people are really gonna be stealing people's carts of groceries out of the grocery parking lot. I'm telling you. It seems like it's headed that way. Now, what other choices are people gonna have to find food to eat?
So she not even saying they just gonna walk out the store like the men did the last video. She said people gonna be pushing their cars, they gonna run up on them and take their growth. And them state.
Hey Cal, you don't know who I do, man. So I appreciate you commenting on my stuff, but that's not what I do, bro. I have a life.
And I think you gotta let them flee first before you gotta flee before you.
I'm glad you're on here. I appreciate it. Did you subscribe? I guess you're a subscriber. I appreciate it.
Like, give me that. It's not stand your ground. Stay.
If it was someone points a gun, you can't shoot them.
In certain states.
No. In every state. I just took the class 2 weeks ago. If a gun is pointed at you, that is the moment you can defend yourself because you're in fear for your life. What else? Now they just come and snatch them and run. Then you couldn't do anything.
Shoot them. Common sense, Usually common sense.
But if you're in fear for your life.
So do you really think they're going to look at you with all these groceries, packing them in your car, about to go home and feed your family?
Who are you talking about? Who is she talking about?
Hard-earned money that you made from working your job that afforded you the affordability to buy those groceries. They ain't going to give a fuck. They ain't going to care. They gonna snatch them bags about your hand and be like, I wish you would.
Who's she talking about?
And some just might lose their.
Damn.
See who's she talking about?
It ain't worth it. And the groceries that bad, let them out.
Who is she talking about there, guys?
People with money. The palm people.
Hey man, it's some crazy videos out there right now, guys. People are having to actually cook up a meal, guys.
Shut down. There's no food stamps, so I don't have any money for fast food. That means I had to make my own breakfast this morning. Let's go. I have to run out the door, but it would have been much more convenient for me to go to the McDonald's drive-thru, give me a warm, nice McGriddle with the crispy hash brown on the side, and actually go to Starbucks. But I guess I have to start budgeting more.
The message is spreading fast. November the 25th through December the 2nd, we're blacking out the system. We're talking about Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we're shutting it down. They do not get our dollar, and we're showing these organizations, this corporation of a government, that we, the people, have the power. For more information, go to blackoutthesystem.com.
going down this.
I just think it's sad that we're so reliant on the government.
Like, come on, bro.
Is the EBT just stopped because the government shut down, or they're actually getting rid of it? That's
No,
what
I
I've
think
been
it's from
hearing.
the shutdown.
Some people saying, I've been hearing people that say that
Now,
it's
you
actually.
saw the tariffs gave money towards these things.
Yeah, can we look up
We saw that. We
ChatGPT
did
to
it
make
the
sure?
other day. Yeah, it's from the shutdown. But if you already have the process, if you already processed your stuff, it's according to ChatGPT, it's operating as normal right now. But if it stays in November, then you know it could be delayed.
So hold on. So people are bitching and hollering for no reason at this point.
Because I mean, maybe a couple people who didn't get theirs already loaded. But according to ChatGPT, if you already loaded yours, it's good.
But then people are making videos like they finna get rid of it forever.
They're not. They're being told that. They said that whenever Trump was doing, you know, all the stuff he was doing. We even looked it up the other day that the tariffs, a lot of the tariffs were going towards that.
It goes out for the single mothers that got kids. Now, what can we do? We can't feed our kids. Let alone, if we do have jobs, again, what can we do? Because that was helping us.
Outrage and uncertainty, two things many Memphians who have depended on
Just don't.
Bro, what?
Don't.
No, I wasn't finna grow roaster, bro. I was saying, what the hell they doing in Africa to feed their kids?
They starving.
How can you feed them?
They
I don't
starving.
know. You gotta figure it out. We got opportunities to figure out how to feed your kids out here. You got the McDonald's, the Burger King,
The government
the
should come to
grocery
an
stuff.
agreement though, bro. With this budget thing, that needs to.
They're not gonna come to an agreement.
They're gonna have to eventually.
They're gonna use this so they can continue to blame Donald Trump. That's why they made it the longest shutdown that they ever had in history.
Just this?
Yes, this is the
Even
longest.
Obama's?
Yeah.
Wasn't that long?
No, this is the longest one that ever happened. It's been shut down for a whole month, bro.
Yeah.
Again, what can we do? Because that was helping us.
outrage and uncertainty, two things many Memphians who have depended on SNAP, like Cornisha, are feeling as the benefits are set to freeze. The Tennessee Department of Human Services confirmed this will be the case on their website if the government shutdown continues into November 1st. This means nearly 700,000 Tennesseans, roughly 152,000 living in Shelby County, will lose a food source many rely on to feed their families. And it's not just in Tennessee. Arkansas and Mississippi are also at risk of losing SNAP funding, which would leave about 240,000 in Arkansas and 385,000 Mississippians without benefits. The Mid-South Food Bank says they conducted a full survey of their partner agencies across all three states and found over half of respondents noted an increased need for food assistance over the past 3 months, and that's before any benefits have been impacted. State Senator London Lamar is calling for federal lawmakers to prioritize the people they serve over politics, so nobody has to go hungry.
What you're seeing is this Democrat, Republican fighting. People on opposite sides of the end won't come to the table, negotiate, and put people first. That is going to kill our state. That's going to...
No, I do. Right. They got to come to an agreement. That's not good for anyone for lots of reasons. I think they just got to come to an agreement. They got to do that.
I got a question. Is that not a problem that almost a whole city of people are on food stamps? Should we be concerned about that?
It was. But I mean, what are you gonna do?
I know, but that's a lot, bro.
It was that amount of people on it. It didn't say.
It said Shelby. It said Shelby County in Memphis. Guess how many people is in Memphis? It's not that many. It said 100. It's 100. No, it said 100K.
Oh,
in Memphis City.
For Africa.
That is a lot of people. That's a whole.
I think them niggas need to start a little bit.
Nah, bro.
I do because niggas in Africa starving.
That's how you view things. That's how we also view things with our family. But some of these people, you just gotta understand.
Some people
in the world, some people, well, in America, some people are less capable than others. There's nothing they can do. There's no way. They are incapable of creating enough wealth to feed their families. So this is America. We give people benefits. This is how they've been doing it. We gotta come to an agreement, in my opinion.
So why ask the colonizer?
Well, you shouldn't call them that and all these things if you want to.
Them niggas need to start for a little bit to realize, maybe I need my colonizer. Because they in Africa, they starving. They starving. Why are they starving? Why are they starving? Maybe it's because they don't got no colonizer. Shit, I'm just calling it how I see it. So don't complain now.
No, see, that's how I view it.
Don't complain now. But we're not. We get EBT, we get school buses, we get everything. Look at this. Gatorades and all this, man. You can choose from a no sugar Gatorade or a sugar Gatorade.
Yeah, I know. No, we have it the best here. That's why I do think that to continue to be the best, we need to come to an agreement.
AC pumping.
We need to come to an agreement, bro.
Oh, man.
But in a few days, her SNAP benefits for her family of 6 won't hit her card.
I don't know exactly what's about to happen with this, but
6 kids.
all I can do is just try to do my best with what I have.
Governor Jeff Landry says the weeks-long government shutdown in Washington is the reason hundreds of thousands of Louisiana families won't get SNAP benefits in November, just weeks before the holiday season.
A lot of that stuff be, potlucks and people coming together and bringing their foods together. So, I mean, if everybody's scarce, it's not going to even feel like Thanksgiving for real.
The Louisiana Department of Health, which oversees the SNAP program, says it will start letting recipients know what's not coming. Stores will soon have signs like this, letting customers know about the
Haven't live streamed since what? Friday? Saturday? No, Thursday. Haven't live streamed since Thursday.
That this might happen. So
Yeah,
our
funny.
team of buyers have been reaching out to get better deals.
Joe Crowell with High Neighbor says that effort is to keep prices low. He says 18% of their customers get SNAP benefits.
Y'all have a nice day.
Rogers is one of them, trying to stretch the money she has left. Tonight, she has this message for lawmakers in Washington.
There are families and babies that need to have their bellies fed, so we need you all to do something.
I'm finna ask a dumb question.
But we do this in the
I got a real dumb question.
We feed the people who can't feed themselves.
If there's a lot of people that's not able to buy food, when the prices of the food will go down due to the lack of people copping that item?
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but not enough. That's gonna hurt the economy overall.
It's 100K people. 100K people ain't buying food.
They need to come to an agreement, bro.
But they're gonna buy food. They're just not gonna be able to save, I guess, or
they have to come to an agreement.
Like the girl said, she says, "I guess I have to budget now." That's the perfect way to explain it.
But think about something in America. This is the way we've been doing things. Yes, we're privileged. Yes, we have it the best. But that's why America is the best.
Hey, look, I don't want the government to be shut down, but just the government. But do I think the niggas should starve a little bit? Maybe.
Nah,
I don't want nobody to
I don't want nobody no child stomach to be hungry.
Messed up.
But I done seen babies in Africa rib show,
and that's messed up.
That's overly messed up. We don't cry for them.
We do cry for them.
Well,
you've got in the arm of the angels. You don't remember? Remember that commercial?
The colonizer made that commercial.
Damn.
We should stop that.
You think niggas would have came up with that to figure out how to get African people some food? African people got money over there. They still trying to figure out how to get their people some food. Niggas just think for themselves. But this is how I see it, y'all. But hey, I don't want the government to be shut down. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. But this right here, what they talking about, I'm not concerned about it. And not in the slightest, They gonna, I promise you.
I'm just thinking about the kids who ain't got nothing to do with nothing.
They gonna go to school and eat.
Yeah, they got a free lunch at school.
Yeah, but you still hungry when you get home for dinner.
Oh.
Nah, we don't want
I'm just saying,
the kids can't do nothing about that. I was thinking about the kids.
Syrup sandwiches.
But I wouldn't allow my family to live like that.
Hamburger helper. They gonna eat, but I promise you they gonna eat.
The hamburger helper, boy, that's good.
They gonna eat. Obviously, it ain't that bad.
So.
It ain't Ghana. It ain't Nigeria.
It ain't that.
It ain't that bad.
But this is America. Yeah. We're the best country. We got poor people that just live off the government all their life. And their parents did, and their grandparents did, and their kids will. And that's how it is.
All right. Yeah. All right, guys. Let's know what y'all think in the comments.
All right, you guys. I'm in this feed right quick. Thank you. Like and subscribe. Appreciate it.